Hello again, good morning and welcome to another week of Business AM headline reviews on News Express right here on Africa Business Radio. It is the weekend edition of the show and we're looking at developing stories this week and what to expect from the paper in the coming week. But just a quick run through headlines that Business AM have been tracking this week. We have this one, of course, that is sitting right on the cover page for this week. COVAX to start shipping 90 million COVID-19 vaccines to Africa later this month. Of course, this initiative is aimed to be Africa's largest ever mass vaccination campaign. We have Afreximbank paying $2 billion to facilitate advanced procurement for continent. And we also have Nigeria flaunt to spend 400 billion naira to procure vaccine. And right underneath this particular headline, we have hawkish CBN joins skeptical central bankers against crypto. Of course, this was the leading story this week following what went down over the weekend. That was just last Friday when the central bank warned all regulated financial and non-financial institutions in the country against the exchange of virtual currencies. They also went further to direct all the regulated banks to identify individuals who are transacting or who are operating the cryptocurrency exchange within their systems and also have the accounts of such individuals closed with immediate effect. We saw all of the back and forth that went down on social media because of this particular move by the CBN. Over to the summary section of Business AM now. COVID-19 puts 60% dent on capital importation. COVID-19 put 60% dent on capital importation, down year on year to just $9.7 billion or 3.7 trillion naira. Banking leads highest capital import value by sector with $3.75 billion in 2020. Catch that one on page 4 of the paper. And yes, you can always catch the weekly market numbers too on Business AM, the finance and investment segment of the paper. On page 11, that's where the market numbers for last week is sitting. Well, let's begin our conversation this morning from the market performance on the NNC thus far this week. And I have joining me for conversations Philip Isakwa, the publisher of Business AM. Good morning, Mr. Philip. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, it's been quite a week in the market. I mean, as at Wednesday, it was recording its 8th consecutive day of losses. But then we sort of heaved a sigh of relief yesterday as we saw an uptick of about 0.78% for the day. Today is the last trading day of the week. How do you see it wrapping up?
Well, if you recall, we did talk about a rally being spoiled. I mean, last week we talked about the rally being spoiled by the resurgent in fixed income yields, and then we talked about analysts recommending what's it called, cherry picking system as corporate earnings were pivotal to bullish sentiments. So obviously this was kind of like expected. Cherry pick your stocks, because they weren't too sure what will happen. Still expectation about earnings, some earnings releases. Corporate earnings were expected to drive the market. Yeah. For some reason that did not happen. But I guess also because of the nature of development in the whole environment, whether money or capital markets, that probably led to what you saw. So there was a sigh of relief yesterday, and that's because as the week closes, some development in the market has brought some confidence, to investors, and they began to be positive. I guess that's the way to look at it.
Right. Well, just before you take us through next week's headlines, of course, I'm aware of the EcoBank Eurobond raising. What more can you tell us about that?
Yes, that was what you call a testing the market development because EcoBank became the first African bank to test the Eurobond market in 2021. That was the first one. It's a senior unsecured bond offering that carries a 5-year tenor, ended up at 7.125%. I mean, it started higher than that, but when things began to happen in the market, once it opened, there was an avalanche of interest, that made the issuer to begin to play with rates in the sense that instead of offering something a lot higher, I think it started with 7.2, higher than that, 7.75. It was released at 7.75, but ended up at 7.125. Yes, 125 eventually. But that shows you the hunger in the market. $300 million Eurobond issuance got to the market, and in Europe alone, from what the results that we saw from Europe alone, at some point we had people a booking of between 20, and you had others that went from DFIs, development financial institutions. You had others that went way ahead of the $300 million. We also learned that Rencat placed orders worth over $700 million, as well as 30 other sold orders worth $240 million. So you can see how really swamped the issue, when it went to the market. I guess it's a sign, that there's still hunger there, there's still money out there, investors looking for outlets, to invest funds, and we expect that. I haven't gone this sweet, EcoBank. I believe that there will be others who will be looking, from what has happened, and then don't be surprised if some others begin to go to look for some capital raising through Eurobond.
We'll see how that one goes. Now, before I let you go, take us through any particular headline of interest for this week and what readers should expect the coming week.
Yes, Rachel, we talked about electricity issues some time ago.
Right.
You recall that we talked about the tariff, actually kicking in later on. We heard about suspension in January. There hasn't been anything said. But we are seeing. from the contact we've made from people we've been talking to, we understand that some tariffs have been going up. And we're looking to see if we can put a nail to that. There are quite a lot of things going on that we will be looking at. Oil prices are rising in the global market, and that has consequences for the pump price of fuel. The Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources has already said that we will follow the market. There's been a regulation of the downstream sector, and you will expect that pump prices will respond accordingly. As global prices of crude, begin to go up. At some point it was $60, which was the highest in a number of years, and that will be transferred eventually to pump prices. We're following the market. Analysts will be talking to analysts regarding what has happened this week, and we'll be digging deeper into what transpired and what the expectations will be for next week. Both the money and capital market yields. The yields environment in the money market hasn't really settled yet. We'll be looking to see what all of that holds for investors next week.
All right, we'll look out for all of those headlines and hope to get just the right dose of information from Business AM as always. Thank you so much, Mr. Philip Isakwa, for doing this with me today.
Thank you, Rachel.
Have a wonderful weekend.
And you too. Bye-bye.
All right, and that was Philip Isakwa. He's the publisher, Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper.